second day Medx. I'm sure everybody's brains are like, whoa, what is going on? There's so much going on. But today I want to take a little bit of time and actually talk about myself. And it's kind of funny. I was sitting here right before I came up thinking about this, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, when I started doing what I'm about to tell you, like, I would have never guessed I would be standing here today talking to a room full of people about how I became a data analysis nut job. But I did, and today I want to talk to you about how I used my own data myself to create a precision medicine treatment plan for my autoimmunity. So who the heck am I? Well, my name is Julie Cerrone. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm 30 years old. And I find it really hard when people ask me, what do you do, to answer that question. A few years ago, it used to be really simple. I said, oh yeah, I'm an IT consultant for Deloitte. But I got really sick and I had to go out on disability. And through that, I ended up getting certified in holistic health. I became a yoga instructor. I started blogging about my patient journey, speaking, and then all of these diagnoses started coming up. Psoriatic arthritis, avascular necrosis, complex regional pain syndrome, melanoma, anxiety, depression, it's a million things. But now I like to think of myself as a patient empowerer. I really like to help people empower themselves to take control of their health and live their best life. Maybe it's through diet and exercise. Maybe it's through empowering that voice and interjecting it into the healthcare system, where now I'm working at We Go Health. So there's many different facets to what I do. But today, I want to talk about my health. And I never really thought of myself as a sickly person, but growing up, I used to joke about how I had the worst immune system, and that I had the worst knees. And you tell your knee story, but I would tell you how I had 3 surgeries by the time I graduated college or high school, and I had migraines and digestive issues and all of these things. But in 2012, when I had to go out on a forced disability leave, I really started to realize, well, crap, I think I am a chronic patient. And I got these diagnoses that said, yes, you are a chronic patient. You have psoriatic arthritis, you're going to have it for the rest of your life. And I do have all of these different things, but today I want to focus specifically on the autoimmune aspect of it. I do realize that the body is so interconnected, and all of these things that I had going on probably and most likely are all related, but today I want to talk about my PSA. So in 2012, I faced my 4th and 5th knee surgery. Again, my doctors were telling me, oh, these were just one-off things. And as the year went by, I kept getting more symptoms, more pain. It got to the point where I was uncontrollably shaking. I couldn't stop shaking. I was in so much pain. I mean, you want to talk about a pain scale from 1 to 10. This was like a million, and I'm not exaggerating. I couldn't function. I kept telling my doctors there was something wrong. They would just give me more medication. And then they'd give me medication for symptoms that were caused by the medication. And it just kept going on and on and on. And soon I was on 11 different prescription drugs, 2 different injections. And I started thinking, well, what the heck is, what is my life? Being a yoga instructor, and actually I enjoyed the mindfulness meditation that we kicked off with yesterday, and I thought about starting my session with it, but I thought, well, I only have a few moments to tell my story. But I'm really obsessed, if you will, with this question: what makes someone change? What makes a patient get up and start figuring out what's going on with them and really commit themselves to make changes, and while other patients kind of sit by the sidelines and just take status quo as okay? Started thinking about it from myself, and ever since I was younger, my parents instilled this inspiring, motivating, you can do anything attitude. And as I was going through my disability leave, I spent 6 months, I wasn't allowed to put any weight on my left leg, and I spent the whole time in bed. I had to move back in with my parents in their basement. It's a nice basement. They always get mad that I say that, but it's a nice basement. But I became so depressed, and I lost my confidence. I lost that will and inspiration and motivating person that I was, but it was still in me. And I started connecting with patients online. So I was always a social media freak. I mean, you knew what I ate or what I did on Facebook, but I never used it for the health aspect of it. And I found this whole patient community online. And I started participating in tweet chats like Spoonie Chat, whose founder is right here in the room, which is awesome. And I started connecting with these patients, and I was seeing what they were doing. I started reading their blogs, and I thought, okay, there's more here. Like, I can do something about this. But, you know, that kind of started my thought process. But I remember my big aha moment. It was the summer of 2013, and my parents took me and my brother down to Florida for a vacation. I love to travel. I mean, honestly, traveling is my favorite thing ever, but I didn't want to go on this trip because I was having panic attacks trying to leave my house. I mean, it was just, I was in a bad state. So we get to Florida, and my parents were like, oh, surprise, we're going to go to Disney for a few days, which I love Disney. So we get there, and I ended up going to the American Idol experience, and singing was something that I always loved growing up. So next thing I know, I'm standing on stage singing Martina McBride's Independence Day in front of a room full of 800 people with my crutches, and I just teared up because I thought, I can still live this awesome life. Like, I have all these diagnoses, and yeah, I spent the last 9 months doing nothing and being so depressed, but you know, maybe there's more to life. Like, I can still do this, and I want to do this. So the next day, I was sitting on the beach reading Dr. Lissa Rankin's Mind Over Medicine about creating your own healing plan, and I had my mom take this picture, which is now my blog header, and this truly is the moment I was like, I'm doing this. I'm going to do anything I can to take control of my health. So when I got back home, I started, well, I didn't know where to start, but I had a very unique resource at my disposal. Ever since I was a baby, my mom wrote down notes of every time I went to the doctor. If we had tests done, she had it there. Maybe it was just a few sentences, but I started reading, and you know, Julie, age 3, sinus infection, azithromycin, or whatever it was, and I started putting all of these dots, like I could plot out these dots, and I thought, there's something going on here, like my digestive issues, my migraines, my knee problems. There's a whole picture here that no one has been seeing, and why is it taking me to figure this out? So I started doing a lot of research, and I went to my doctor, my rheumatologist, and I showed her all these notes, and I'm like, hey, when I was in 7th grade, I had this wrong, and when I was 12 years old, I had this wrong. Don't you see this here? Isn't there a huge pattern? And she's like, yeah, there probably is. And I'm like, well, isn't there a better way? I mean, can't you help me figure out all of this stuff and my triggers, and instead of just giving me medication, isn't there a better way than spending 5 to 6 days in bed with just a growing medication list? And she was like, yeah, sure, yep, yeah, there is, but good luck, you know. And I love her, and I don't want to speak ill about her, but she supported me, but I knew I was on my own. So I came up with my own healing plan, and there were many parts to it, but 3 main things. 1, I knew I had to have the commitment to myself to really turn over every stone that I could. 2, I needed to have a trusted team of advisors. And 3, I needed to really mine every piece of data that I could about myself. I had already checked number 1. I was like full force going down this path. So started with my healthcare team. I had a ton of people on my healthcare team, and I went to them and I said, look, I'm going to start looking at what's going on in my life, and I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. And a lot of them were like, that's great, like, we're happy for you, good luck, see you later. But the people who weren't supportive, they got kicked off my healthcare team. I brought new ones in. For instance, I had an orthopedic surgeon who wanted nothing to do with it or nothing to do with me, so he got the boot. I got a new one in there. So I felt like I had all of these people behind me who were supportive, but I knew I needed to be the driver because they really weren't talking to each other, and some doctors were in this state and that state, and so I knew I had to be the gatekeeper. So then I started looking at data, and data was all over the place. I had this handwritten file that my mom had ever since I was little. I started tracking my steps with a Fitbit that I actually won at Medx a few years ago. What I was eating, meditation. So I used apps and I used, just written things, but then the IT consultant in me was like, all right, there's a lot more here that you can start tracking. So then I created this ridiculous spreadsheet that every day I would go on and log what time I woke up, how long did it take me to get out of bed, what was my pain, where was my pain, how long did my pain last, did I take all my medication, did I take my medication 5 minutes late, did I, what did I eat, what didn't I eat, did I leave my house, did I not leave my house, who did I talk to, what was my stress level, what was my thoughts. So much, right? And I even created my own pain scale so that I made sure, pain and fatigue scale, so I made sure that every day I was objectively scaling myself. So then, after a few months, I got all this data, and I started making bar graphs and pie charts, and I started looking at all of these things, and I started to see all of these triggers, like, just jumping out at me. It just started to make so much sense. I started looking at, okay, on the days that my pain was high and my fatigue was low, what did I do? What did I eat? Not only what did I eat, what food groups did I eat? Did I eat certain food groups together? Did I eat food groups within a 3-day span? I mean, crazy stuff. And then I also realized, okay, well, you could do all of this, but then you should get some testing too. So I went to my doctors and I said, okay, can I get some genetic testing? I had genetic testing done to figure out some blood disorder things, and I went to a functional doctor and got gut tests and started to pull all this data together. And I created these packets of these bar graphs and pie charts, and looking back, I sent them to my doctors. I really wish I would have hand-delivered them to my doctors, because I would have loved to have seen their faces when they opened this up and saw like a pie chart of my pain and fatigue for 6 months. That would have been awesome. But I mean, it was so clear as day to me after I looked at all this data what was bothering me and what wasn't bothering me. So, I encountered some hiccups and some problems along the way. One, I feel so fortunate to have had an amazing mother who wrote down so much information. I mean, many people don't have that at their disposal. I definitely did. But, I have doctors in several different states. They're all in different health systems. I don't have one record. So I really needed to be the gatekeeper from all of this information. And some days I didn't even want to get out of bed. So to have the will to keep going and to pull all of this together, I mean, that was one of the biggest obstacles. But I continued going through, and I'm here today. So how did it turn out? Well, let me tell you, it was very fruitful exercise. I'm off all of my medications. I spend a few days a week or a month in bed, but I'm not 5 to 6 days like I was before. What works for me? My diet. I have to have a strict diet. Foods, huge trigger. Toxins. So I make a lot of my own beauty products and use a lot of natural things because there's so many perfumes and dyes and stuff like that that really bother me. Meditation, being mindful, keeping my body calm, that helps tremendously. Movement, physical therapy for my hands, for my knees. Yoga, I am an instructor, so I love to help others realize that keeping those joints moving, they say move or fuse, and I don't want to fuse, so keep it moving. And supplements. So I said I'm not on any medication, and it's not that I'm against medication. If I need it, I would absolutely get back on it. But I take a ridiculous amount of supplements, but I feel like all the supplements I'm taking are helping that root cause that I was able to figure out from getting these, figuring out all these triggers. I'm constantly reassessing. I'm constantly pushing the envelope because I am never going to just take a diagnosis and sit in bed and not be able to participate in life. I want to participate in life. I want to make a change. I want to make an impact on this world. So I want to ask you, is this how it should be? Should all patients have to meticulously track their data for months on end to figure out their conditions? I'm not saying that patients should not have responsibility. They absolutely should have responsibility in their health, but it should be a partnership, right? So we need our healthcare practitioners to partner with the patients to figure this out. Why don't we support this? I am the exception to the rule when it comes to doing anything that I can to figure out my triggers, but I am not the exception to the rule. Did I say that right? I'm not the exception to the rule in that I needed a customized plan. We all need customized plans. We're all so different. We can't just have one diet doesn't fit all. One condition can't be treated by one plan. So I just want to leave the question to you. How might we offer our patients the opportunity to create a personalized treatment plan for their chronic conditions? Because we can do this together. Thank you. Any questions? Yes. So I was definitely a chronic pain patient. Diet has such an important part on my pain because of inflammation, but also moving. And And it's when you are in pain, you don't want to move. And I used to hate when I would go to my doctors and they're like, just move. You'll feel better if you move. But it extremely helps. So I like to say yoga because it's low impact, but that doesn't resonate with everybody. Some people like to run or some people like to bike. So I think it's anything that keeps you moving. Honestly, I think the biggest thing with chronic pain is meditation and helping you to calm your body. Because when you're in pain, you just tense everything up. But if you can relax, then I've seen that helps tremendously. Doctors talking amongst each other. It didn't go. I was the one that had to talk between. I asked people to talk between, and there were several that would talk conventional more so together. I don't think anyone ever reached out to, the functional medicine or the integrative medicine doctor that I had, but I was the one that was making sure everybody was informed about what I was taking, what I was doing, which is a lot to bear on a chronically fabulous patient, as I like to put it. What I got out of Twitter chats?
Yeah, and this is not, I'm not asking you to write a love letter to me. I got plenty of love letter.
No, so what I found the most beneficial from Twitter chats was connecting with other patients. Just hearing someone else say, oh yeah, I feel that same way, or I'm going through the same thing, you're not alone. Sharing ideas. This isn't about psoriatic arthritis, but I have avascular necrosis, so part of my femur bone was dead, and I couldn't find any solutions. And patients talking in Twitter chats and online was the reason I'm standing here today without crutches. So it's one, connecting with them I think is invaluable. Two, just learning from their experiences. That's really interesting because that crosses over to my professional life, and I do a lot of that. I think that pharma is really worried because of regulations and they don't want to interject, but I think that I know that they're listening. I've seen them talking about things that are happening online and picking up trends, and I feel like even though they're not in the conversation, they're a part of it because they're using what we're saying and changing what they're doing, and I've seen it firsthand.
Is that good?
Oh, yes, absolutely. But that's what we need to do. Because that, as the girl said before me, woman, sorry, not a girl, that patients are experts, so that's what they should be listening to. Yes, one more, and then I'm over my time. Yes. Right. That's a great question. And that's where I knew I had to work with my doctors. Like, I feel like I'm an expert in my own health, but I'm not going to claim to be an expert in all of health, and I'm not going to tell my doctors exactly, everything. So I needed to rely on them. And there were a few times when I tried things and I would have a flare-up or something just didn't seem right, and I always went back to my rheumatologist and said, like, okay, hey, this is what happened, what do you think? And we'd have a conversation about it, but I don't, you have to rely on on your healthcare practitioners to help guide you in it. Absolutely, because you're right, you could have bad impact. Well, thank you for letting me talk about myself. I appreciate it.